Hey guys, Tepcocyclerepair today working on a ipower 1600. This is a Yamaha 2000 starting watts. It's just a small handheld suitcase generator. It's no start, so we're going to figure out what's going on with it. It's got a half a tank of fuel in there. They said they've changed the spark plug and it's still not starting, so let's see. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to try to start it and show you what happens. And then I think I'm going to go for this first and take this off and make sure there's no clog in there. I can pull that out and then try to start it and then see what happens. But let me give it a couple pulls and just see what it's doing. All right, we're on start choke. We got the gas cap ventilating. And they got the eco off. I'm not getting anything, so put it on run, just make sure we're not. Alright. Let's go ahead and pull that exhaust screen off, because that gets clogged a lot and ends up being the problem in a lot of these. Cheap gas, gets a lot of carbon buildup. One of these little spacers rolled out, so pay attention when you're taking it off. It's so you don't crush your plastic. This low one just came rolling out when I pulled it off. So pay attention to little things like that. Now this is just looks like an Allen key. This is part of maintenance too, cleaning these out if this is the problem. So I just pulled the clamp off here. It's just pressed on here pretty good and the clamp crushes it some more, so just work it off. All right, you can kind of see through it. I don't think that's going to be the problem. But we're going to clean that anyway. Nope. Alright, keep trucking. So we're going to make sure we get a spark. I'm going to pull this cover off and I'll put my spark tester on and we'll take a look at that. Gas doesn't smell that bad. I think there's a button in there. Alright, so you got a couple buttons in the middle. One here, and one up top. You just got to gently pull those off. I don't know if you can see it, but we have a spark now. It's lighting it up. So we're good there. Alright, so as usual with these, we are down to the carburetor, which is going to require me pulling this plastic piece off. So a couple more screws in it to get it off all the way.
You're going to have the cue on this side of the handle and the other side of the handle.
3 6mm bolts at the bottom. You see that one's different than all the rest. It's silver. Little tab, it sits underneath the air saw. Alright, let me bring you in closer so you can see what we're doing here. We're going to pull this carb off and clean it. Alright, first let's go ahead and pull this Phillips off here and check the air filter, make sure that's good. clean. It's pretty fresh, this unit here. It's not bad at all. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to catch what kind of fuel is in the carburetor. So I have this line right here. I'm going to get a cup and we're just going to drop it into the cup and we're going to see what's in there. All right, let's see what we got. I got the gas on, so it's flowing. I'm just letting it all flow out. It's pretty yellow. All right, let me shut the fuel off and dump the rest of the carb. All right, so this is what our fuel is looking like, yellow. But I don't see any water in it. That's good. Yeah, I don't see any. But sometimes what happens is the fuel that sits in here goes bad and the fuel in the tank is okay. So I always say not to trust the fuel that it comes in, but let's give it a pull and just see if it starts just with fresh fuel in it. With this, with the gas from the tank in it, because sometimes I've seen them just start up. So let's give it a shot. Alright, nothing. Alright, so let's pull the carb all the way off. We're going to dump that out. I'm going to have two 10 millimeters, one here, throttle cable up top. The electronic throttle right here just plugs in right down in there, so we'll unclick that as well. But some people don't like messing with electronics. Let's see if we can get the bowl off. See, if we take this off right here, we might be able to get the bowl off and clean just the jets and then leave the carburetor on. Kind of cheating, but it saves you from taking a lot of stuff off. And sometimes people want to take everything off and it's just one of the jets that's clogged. So let's go ahead and take this off right here. 10 millimeter. In case any more gas dumps out, let's leave that there. I'm not sure with the air box here if we're going to be able to pull the bowl off, but let's give it a shot. See that? Dirty. Now we're getting somewhere. And if it looks nasty, if it looks really bad in there, you take it off. But it doesn't want to come off. I guess we'll take it off all the way because that bowl is not going to want to come off. So let's go with the 210s here. Get the air box off. We have a 10 millimeter here, and then the 210s on here for the rest of the carburetor. Throttle. Then I'm going to pull it out before I disconnect the cable because keep everything. And here we're going to go ahead and take off the vent line. Get that out of the way. Okay, this is our air box intake here. And we got our fuel line coming in. Sorry, it's tight in here for you guys to see, but I'm just trying to get this fuel line off. It's being a little stubborn. I gotta try to twist it a little bit so that it'll break free. It's been on there a while. Of course, you don't want to damage it either. There we go. So we got to take this cable off here. I'm going to loosen the Phillips head on the top, because otherwise it's going to hit the tank and not want to come off all the way. So this is our choke, by the way. Alright, so I got the pinch cable bolt released. I'll be able to pull the cable and housing and everything out. Alright, so now we got the cable off the top. And I'll show you what that looks like here when I pull it out. Let me just get this carb out of the way here. There we go. Alright. So you flex it enough, it comes off. You just gotta, everything, the case and all, it's just flexing. Alright, you can move this whole thing separated enough. That's what you gotta do to get it out. Alright, so now let's bring this over to the bench. Because the carb, see, it just sits on there. It should be coming off at this point, but it's not. Oh, there we go. Alright, so I twisted it. Yeah, look at that. Nasty, so these jets are going to be all clogged up. So let's get them cleaned up. So if you look here, we're going to be able to pull our float off with the float needle. And the float needle's not stuck, that's good. We're going to clean that up. We're going to clean everything up inside of there. We're going to get our jet out. We have one inside of here and one here. We're going to clean them both out. All right, so let me get some tools for that. All right, guys, so usually the issue is going to be this one right here. This is going to be the one that's going to give you all kinds of grief in starting. You can see how high the fuel sat inside there. And if you look inside the main jet that's all the way down in there, it's not going to be really affected by that and it should be fine. But this right here, this one, you can see there's some fuel on it there. Most likely it's inside. This is the one that gets clogged. It's a really tiny hole. But we're going to take them both out and clean them. And we're also going to clean that needle seat, make sure there's nothing inside of there. And we'll get this thing all right again. Now, I took the air box all the way off just to make it a little bit more roomy in there. It's 110mm. It screws right into here because it'd be easier to put it back on with this out of here. So I don't have to kind of squeeze my hand in there. So let me get this carb cleaned up. Now, if you watch my channel before, you know I use one little wire cut off of a brush like this, and you just take the jet, and I'll put it on one that's in here now, and you just clean it so it comes through, okay? So I'll just grab that wire right there, spin this jet a bunch of times, spray it with carb cleaner, and it's good to go. Make sure you can see light through it. So when you're holding it this way here, you can see that light through there now. Before, I couldn't see anything through it. So just get your jets like this, looking good, spray them out, let's put them back in. Also, don't forget your bowl. Clean the bottom of that. I got it nice and shiny now. Alright, so that jet inside there, it's really big. You can fit the nozzle of the can through here. The whole, this is the carb clean can. So give you an idea of the differences. That little tiny wire had to fit through the side one, but this one here, you can fit this all the way through it. Alright, so you can fit this all the way through and then spray carb clean, you'll see it come out of there. So if you don't have a skinny screwdriver to get down in there, don't worry too much about it. Just spray it out really good because you don't want to mess the threads up on the side trying to get you know, a screwdriver down there, because see those side threads, those are important to mount the bowl on. So don't go too crazy if you can't get that one out. Just make sure you spray it really good. Let's clean out this needle seat. I use some semi-chrome and a Q-tip, and I'm going to get that nice and clean. Alright, so that's what I use, semi-chrome. I use a Q-tip. I just put a little bit on here. I have it on a drill, but I only do it at a really low speed, like that. And I just put it in there and clean it just a little bit, back and forth a couple times into the float needle hole. Alright, and then comes out like this. I'm going to clean it up, spray it with carb cleaner, and I'll show you what it looks like. Look at that. It's like new again. Alright, let me clean off the float needle tip, and we'll just reassemble this. Alright, so on the float needle tip, you want to make sure there's no ring that's you know, around it, that it's like constantly been pushed up into the seat really bad. It can wear an actual ring. You need a magnifying glass to see that. but it won't be able to seal good if that's the case. Also on your sides of the float needle right here, make sure there's no debris built up on the sides because that'll make your needle stick and it'll cause it to leak fuel and stuff. So make sure that that's clean on all sides of your needle before you put it back in. All right, so this is the bolt that goes on the bottom of the bowl. So there's a couple gaskets here to make note of. You have this one right here. This one seals the bottom of the bowl so gas doesn't leak out of there. You have one at the top of the bowl that seals the top of the bowl here so fuel doesn't leak out of there if it gets bounced around. You have your intake manifold gasket here. All right, you have the gasket right here going into the cylinder itself. So you want to make sure these are all good. If they're messed up, you got to replace those. You can't overlook that stuff because you'll get air leaks in here. It'll cause all kinds of revving up and down and surging and nonsense. So make sure all these gaskets are good before you put it back together. Now we're going to get away with saving these because they look fine. So we're going to be good. But if you got to get new ones, if you got any damage, don't second guess it. Just get it. Now what I'm going to do before I put everything back on is drain all the fuel out of here. I always say never trust your customer's fuel because you don't know how long it's been in the can that they used to put in here. And a lot of people believe that it's fresh, but you just never know because sometimes water gets in those cans and they don't know it. And although the fuel is fresh on their end, it had some water in it. You never know. You got to get it all out. You want to know that the fuel you're using is good. So I got some good ethanol-free fuel that I'm going to put in here, but I'm going to dump all this stuff out first. All right, guys, and while I'm draining this fuel tank, I want to show you something. On these, you only have start, choke, and then you have run. Run is the fuel with the choke off, and then you have off. This shuts the ignition off. If you want to run your generator out of fuel every time with these, just turn it to here, about a notch before the click. All right, if I turn it a little bit more, you'll hear a click. All right there, you can hear the little click. All right, so right before the click is where you want it, and it'll run out of fuel, and then you can turn it off, okay? So all the way back until just before it shuts off, we'll shut off your fuel, and it'll let the carburetor run dry, and then you can turn it off all the way. See where it is right now? There's no fuel coming out, and the spark could still be, it's still in the on position, so it would still be running right now, and then you can turn it off all the way, all right? That's how you run these things dry. And do that, you won't have to clean this carburetor out every time you go to start the thing. Let me keep getting this fuel out. All right, so when you put the choke cable in, the cable goes all the way to the stop right there. Just push it all the way through and then tighten it. And then put it on the end here. There's going to be some slack. If you look at it now, see there's some slack in here. All right, that's all right because when you put it on choke, okay, when I put it all the way to choke, it's going to dump fuel out if I do it now. But it'll take all that slack up. And if you don't, if you pull the cable all the way through here with it in the off position, when you turn it, you won't be able to choke it all the way, and it'll yank the cable pretty hard, and it'll probably pull it out of here. So it's going to have some slack. Don't worry about that. All right, now that the fuel line is back on, I'll show you what I mean. So let me put it all the way over to choke. All right, so choke now is fully choke here. So if I were to have it in this position here, all right, and then pull the cable all the way through, you wouldn't be able to choke it all the way. You wouldn't be able to turn this all the way. So make sure that you have this slack on here. Put it, if you want, you can put it all the way to choke like this. Push this all the way here. Hold this nut and then tighten that. But it's kind of hard to do. So just put it towards the end here and just check it when you're done and make sure that it goes all the way choke when you have this turned all the way. All right, so we're good right here. Looking good. All right, keep on trucking. Put the 10 millimeter here. 10 millimeter back in there, 10 here, here. Put the line in right here for the case breather. Plugged in the line here for the electrics, so we're good to go. All right, bowl's back on, all the jets are in, clean. Let me put the air filter back in and give it a pull. I cleaned this out also. You want to have this in here so nothing goes living inside there and clogging that all up. Let it fill up with fuel. Running awesome. Let me put it all back together. Let me hold on to it. Running good. All right, guys, that's all there is to it. It's a pretty simple job. There's a lot of screws you got to take off. Just take your time, take all the screws off this thing, and take it apart so you can get to it. Now, you remember at the beginning part when I was going to take the bowl off and clean it? You can take the air box off, get that out of the way if you need to, or if your bowl just comes loose, take that 10 millimeter out of the bottom, pull your bowl out, spray inside the bowl, and that little side pilot jet, just stick something through there, spray some carb cleaner, and then try it. And that might be all you need. You can get away with something quick and easy like that. I wanted to do a thorough job on this one, so we ran it all, I cleaned the whole thing out and put it back together, flushed all the fuel and all, because I'm going to give it back to the customer when ready to go. But if it's your own personal one, you want to try that, try to see if you can do it a little bit easier. But the main thing is keeping these carburetors dry when you're not using it. So right now when I shut it off, I want all the fuel out of there. Like, I wouldn't put this up and let it sit for a while, just so that I can pull it out the next time and have to clean the carb again. Make sure your carburetors stay dry in these things, and they will start for you every time. All right? Hopefully this helps you out, guys. Please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for further notifications. Until next time, it's Tepcocyclerepair.